Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I apologize for the delay. We were working out some of the technical kinks. But as I said earlier, I think it's worth the 3-minute wait here. We're really excited about this presentation. I think that you'll find it very fruitful. So I'm going to do a brief introduction about Peter and his presentation, and then we'll move on to the presentation. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar, E-Marketing for Legal Professionals, where, as Peter likes to ask, does your website work? It's a sad fact that most law firms benefit little from their websites. Few client leads come through their site unless the firm uses expensive pay-per-click advertising. This afternoon, e-commerce and search engine optimization consultant Peter Kent explains why and what to do about it. In this informative 1-hour webinar, you'll learn about the different ways to get a site built or optimized for search engines, about who you can't trust to get the job done, and a variety of techniques that must be used if your website is going to generate organic or non-pay-per-click search results. You'll be able to pass on a few simple rules that your web designers must follow and probably won't if you don't insist, if you want to rank well in search engines. The presenter for today's webinar is Peter Kent. Peter provides expert reports, testimony, and support to law firms and e-commerce consulting services to business around the world. He is an author of the best-selling book on the subject of SEO, Search Engine Optimization for Dummies, and provides SEO and online marketing advice to a wide range of companies such as Amazon.com, Lonely Planet, Zillow, Tower Records, and literally hundreds of medium and small firms working in the area of law, health, tangible goods, real estate, loans and mortgages, industrial equipment, and more. As both Internet author, he wrote dozens of Internet-related books, including The Complete Idiot's Guide to the Internet, and online marketer for 16 years. He learns what it takes to succeed online, and will give you down-to-earth tips and tricks to turn your site around. If you have questions that pertain to the presentation, please use the Q&A box that is featured on the right-hand side of the screen. I've highlighted it with my pointer. We will be taking 2 breaks during the presentation. One will occur halfway through the presentation of content, and the other will take place after the conclusion. Again, if you have questions that pertain to the presentation anytime, you can use the Q&A box, and we'll take care of making sure your questions are given to Peter in a timely fashion. After the event, we will send out an email with a link to the archived recording of this webinar. And we do ask that you take the time to fill out the survey that will appear on your screen after the webinar is over. I ask you now to sit back, relax, and enjoy the event. I will now turn it over to our distinguished presenter, Peter. Peter, it's all yours.
Thanks very much, Matt. Let me just quickly switch over to my little application here. And we'll get started with the slideshow. This is what it's all about. For so many attorneys, law firms need to be ranked on the first page of Google, first page of Yahoo, Bing. Obviously, most of them can't be ranked on the first page. There are too many of them. But if you want to compete in your particular area, geographically and within your area of expertise, when somebody searches on those particular terms, in this case, this is personal injury attorney in Denver, you really need to be on this page. Let me just move on to the next slide, because most of this stuff at the top here and down the side, this is pay-per-click. We're not going to talk about pay-per-click as a completely different subject. These are placements that are paid for, and pay-per-click. When somebody clicks on the ad, you pay a fee, often a lot. What I'm concerned about today is this area. How do you get your law firm into this area? So we're going to be talking about this today, the sort of tips and tricks to do it. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about this huge problem you have. The first problem is you can't really do the work yourself directly because, well, you have other things to do. You're attorneys. I don't know who's on this call, of course. We may have some web developers on the call. If a law firm has asked their web developer to be on the call, that's a great thing. But the law firms themselves, generally speaking, can't do the work themselves because it's a completely different discipline. And let's face it, you don't want to do the work yourselves. You've got other things you need to be doing. You've got businesses to run. But the third issue is the biggest problem. You cannot trust most of the people who want to do the work for you. Some of you already know this. It's very easy to find SEO help, search engine optimization help. It's actually very hard to find good search engine optimization help. Most web designers and developers don't understand SEO, and quite frankly, in my mind, the SEO business is 80% scam. And by the way, when I talk to people in the business and I use that 80% number, very few will disagree with me. Some of them even say, what, only 80%? The business is a huge scam. There are good people out there, but most of them are not good people. Let's start with the web developers. Your web developers do not know SEO, and if there are any web developers on the call, I'm sorry, not trying to offend anyone here, but let's be honest, fess up, you don't understand SEO. I have never met a single web developer who really understood it, except the web developers I've trained myself. They say they know it on their website, they offer it as a service, they'll tell you to your face that they do SEO. They do not do SEO. And I even have, again, I discussed this within the business. I'm in the business. I have talked to web firms, owners of web firms, who are selling SEO services and had them admit to me over a beer or over lunch, admit to me that they don't really understand it, but they have to sell it because everybody else is selling it. So, 80% scam is what I said, and I'll stand by that number. What do I mean by scam? Well, one form of scam is the firm knowingly sold you garbage, and this is actually very, very common. They say they'll do such and such, and they do nothing, or next to nothing, do very little. It's very, very common. Perhaps the biggest problem is the firm just doesn't know what it's doing. They're not intentionally scamming you, but the effect is the same because they have no idea what they're doing. It's a very complicated area, SEO, because the rules are hidden. The search engines don't really want us to know how it all works, and consequently there's a lot of misinformation. You can find all sorts of different nonsense out there if you go out. It's very difficult to learn the business because there is so much rubbish out there, because everybody's guessing. It's almost like being an engineer when the laws of physics are hidden, and in any case they change every Wednesday. The SEO algorithms are changing all the time, so what works today may not work tomorrow. Either way, these firms are going to blind you with science. They don't know what they're doing, or they're outright scamming you, or there's some kind of overlap. Often there's an overlap. It's a bit of both. I sometimes, by the way, have law firms, or excuse me, clients, not just law firms, but clients send me a list of the services that their SEO firm was promising, and I will look at that list, and I have no idea what they mean. They're truly blinding people with science. If I can't figure it out, there's no way the client can figure it out. So, of course, I'm biased, one might say. It would be nice if I had a live audience, because I know some of you in the audience are probably nodding right now because you've been burned already. I get clients coming to me all the time who've been ripped off. I had one client come to me and say, there's a lot of snake oil out there. There truly is. Just last week, a law firm in Los Angeles called me. I don't just work with, in the legal business, by the way, but I do a fair amount of work in the legal business. But coincidentally, this was a law firm that called me last week. He'd paid thousands of dollars for a very attractive website, and then he paid $600 to optimize the site, and the site was still not optimized, and he still wasn't ranking. The first pass was the developers of the site themselves. Now, this is a company, I'm not going to name them, but this is a company that specializes in law firms. They have built many, many sites, perhaps hundreds of sites for law firms, and they're very attractive sites. But they promise not just search engine friendly sites, but sophisticated search engine optimization. That's exactly what they state. We're going to make your site in a manner that is sophisticated search engine optimization. And by search engine optimization, what we mean is creating a site that is likely to rank well in the search engines. And I'll discuss what that means in detail in a few moments. But this is what they promised. Do they deliver? No, they did not. I've looked at the site. It wasn't just bare bones search engine friendly. In other words, just letting the site in letting the search engines in to read the site. It most definitely was not sophisticated search engine optimization. It was just nonsense. It's just a sales pitch. So the second pass, the SEO consultant comes in. $600 to fix the site. Is it fixed? No, it is not fixed. I've looked at the site. It still has all sorts of basic search engine optimization mistakes. It's nowhere near fixed. However, having said that, if you have to get ripped off, $600 is actually a pretty good deal. $600 for nothing is a lot better than $5,000 for nothing. Another client, this time not in the legal business. These guys were selling tangible goods. They had an e-commerce site. So the client paid $5,000 for SEO. I took a look at the site. What did I find? I found that the site itself was not optimized properly, anywhere near properly. Nothing was done as far as I could tell. Nothing important was done as far as I could tell. Furthermore, a lot of links have been created to the site now, as we'll learn later. Links are very, very important. Links are essential. If you could have the best optimized site in the world, it's not going to rank at all if you don't have links pointed to the site. So links are incredibly important. The person doing this work had gone to Yahoo Local. Again, we'll be looking at the local sites in a few minutes. Gone to Yahoo Local and created all sorts of links pointing to this to my client's website. And that should help to push it up in the rankings. However, first problem, those Yahoo Local links were in irrelevant categories. I found one in a totally different area of the country, in the, what was it? It was the cinema. I think it was the movie section of Yahoo Local. These guys were selling tangible products. They weren't in the movie business in any way, so it was kind of a pointless link. Now, that doesn't matter tremendously, or it might not matter tremendously, because a link, even if it's not quite relevant, can still confer some benefit. So even if it's coming from, and this is contrary to a popular conception in the SEO business, but the fact is, even what appear to be irrelevant links can actually help your site. However, Yahoo Local links are no-follow links. I'll show you that a little bit later on. A no-follow link is a link with a little bit of code telling the search engine not to follow the link. It's a way to stop people spamming originally blogs. And so these Yahoo Local links are no-follow links. So at the end of the day, what did he get? He got literally $0 worth of value as far as ranking his website goes, as far as anything goes, really. He got no value whatsoever for $5,000. I was going to leave it at that, but just a couple of days ago, I did an interview for a major business journal. I guess I probably shouldn't mention who, so I'm not going to put it. I didn't put it in the slide. I'm not going to name them, but a major business journal. You have heard of this magazine. And during the interview, the journalist told me that she had a website of her own. A group of friends had started a business, and they were paying $900 a month for search engine optimization. But actually, they were paying $900 a month for nothing. Even she had realized before she spoke to me, she was starting to get the impression that things weren't quite right, that she wasn't really getting any value out of it. I gave her a free consulting session. You always want to keep journalists happy. And we found all sorts of problems with what was going on the site and the links. But this is a very common scam these days, by the way. You sign up for a service, and most of what they do is telling you what to do. I know some of you have probably seen this already. In this case, this is her quote. They send us a list of blogs they say we should get links from. I thought that's what they were going to do. So she's paying $900 a month for somebody to just sit down in front of the computer for half an hour and come up with a list of blogs, and they just shoot them out in an email. It is a totally worthless service, but that is very common. At the end of the year, of course, if you can sign somebody up for a year on that sort of basis, you're going to lose them eventually, but you may make $10,000 out of them in that first year, and if they, depending on how tight your contract is and everything. And of course, a lot of these firms will tell you it takes time. Just give it time. Give it time. It's true. It does take time, but probably not as long as that. Not as long as a year. And quite often, it just takes time as a way to keep you paying the bills until you get so sick of it and you don't see any results. You leave. So this company will get $5,000 or $10,000 out of these out of this website, and then lose the client. But they've done pretty well. So what are your options? For a small law firm, what are the options? It is very, very difficult. I'm not going to say there's a silver bullet. There is no easy answer. One way to do this is to hire a full-time marketing manager. I know a law firm in Philadelphia that does extremely well with online marketing. They hired somebody who's actually an attorney, but also a bit of a geek. He's definitely into the Internet. He loves the Internet technology. He understands online marketing very, very well. They hired this guy, and I think they're very pleased they did. They've done extremely well in online marketing with having this guy on full-time. You can hire a specialty firm with a track record. There are some, as I said, it's 80% scam, but that's, there's still, maybe it's 90% scam, but there's still 10 or 20% out there that do know what they're doing. The only problem is finding them. There are firms that specialize in the legal business. I know one that I think probably does a pretty decent job, Page One Solutions. There are others that do terrible jobs, but I'm not going to name them. Some of the big ones, you've heard the names. They don't really do that well. But if you're going to hire a specialty firm, don't just hire it based on the sales pitch. Or you're going to end up spending $1,000 or $2,000 a month for nothing. You have to base it on references. You have to find out. You have to look at what they've done and find out if they're doing a good job for other clients. You can also tweak your site yourself. You're going to have to tell your web designer what you want exactly. Now, I told you earlier on you can't do this yourself. I can give you a few guidelines, a few things, and if there are web designers on this call, I think I'm hoping you're going to listen to these little guidelines because there's some very simple things you can do to make a big difference, and we'll cover those in a moment. Either way, my belief is that someone in your organization has to get some sort of SEO training. Even if you're planning to give the job to a third-party firm, you have to understand a little bit about SEO so you can tell whether or not the firm is doing a good job. Because some of the things that are being done are so obviously wrong, such complete nonsense that you can sometimes, even a non-expert with a little bit of information, can figure out what's right and what's wrong. Figure out if the firm they're about to hire knows what they're doing. So, we're going to look at some low-hanging fruit. We're going to talk about checking your keywords. Keywords are incredibly important. I run into firms all the time who have never done a keyword analysis, so it's almost, well, you can't play the game unless you know what your keywords are. Keywords are what connect people looking for you to your website, so you have to know what they're typing into the search engines. We'll look at submitting to the local search engines. This is incredibly important and can actually work very, very quickly and have a very large effect with not too much work. So we'll look at that. And often, by the way, SEO firms don't do this. You could sign up with an SEO firm and they won't do anything related to local search. We'll look at a few things, a few ways to optimize your website, little technical tweaks to make it friendlier to the search engines. And we're going to talk about links, because links, as you'll learn, are incredibly important. So we'll start with keywords. Think keywords. You must know your keywords. There are tools out there that will allow you to see exactly what people are searching for. So here's one. It's Google AdWords Keyword Tool. You can see how to get to it up here in the URL. I can type in Denver, as an example, personal injury. I have to put in this funky little code, of course. And Google's going to tell me how often people search on that term and how often they search on other terms. So we can see here, this is in September, and this is a sort of average monthly. Sometimes the data isn't up to date, like there's not enough data over here. I'm sure somebody, if they had 22 on average, somebody probably searched on it in September as well. But nonetheless, you can get a good idea. We can order it. We can see 8,000 people search for Denver personal injury in September, 2,400 for Denver personal injury attorney. And you can learn some important things. People are more likely to search for attorney than lawyer at least in this context. And you can see, as we scroll down, you can see some other things. People searching for medical malpractice. These are not all Denver terms, of course. Attorney Denver, 74,000. So you have to do a keyword analysis. I can't go into detail right now. We just don't have time. But you have to know what people are searching for. You can't just guess, or you will get it wrong. City names are part of the story. If you're in Denver, then Denver is one of the keywords because people will search for an attorney in Denver. If you're in Philadelphia, Philadelphia is one of the keywords. If your area of practice is not just in Denver but all the major suburbs, then I would name the major suburbs, Littleton and Lakewood and so on. I would put those on the keyword list. If you're a personal injury attorney in the center of Denver, it's quite likely that somebody out in Lakewood would take you on as their attorney. So you need to think of Lakewood as a keyword. You don't go down to little neighborhoods. You don't really need to go that far. In my experience, for this sort of search, this sort of business, you're just concerned about the major metropolitan areas and the major suburb areas around the metropolitan area. You don't need to get down into the tiny little neighborhood names because people are just not searching on those. And then you're going to have to use these keywords. We will go into detail about this in a moment, but you use them in the directory and file names. You use them in the title tags, headings, descriptions, footers. You use your keywords everywhere. Whoever is working on your site, the web designer, the people doing content, anybody who's adding information to the site needs to understand the keywords that are important to you and actually use them. I often print out a list, put it on the wall. I'll pin it on the wall in front of me above my computer screen. And that way I can glance up and I can see what the important words are. If you're not using these words, then you're not really you're not in the game. If somebody searches for personal injury attorney Lakewood, Colorado, and you don't have the word Lakewood on your site, then your site is not coming up in the search. Let's talk about local search. You really need to be here if you can. There's not a lot of room, as you can see here. What's this? 2, 4, 6, 7 different firms in here. You really want to be in here if you possibly can. Now, one huge problem is, if somebody searches for Denver personal attorney, Denver personal injury attorney, Google is going to focus on firms actually in Denver. So what happens if you're not in the center of town? Well, you have less likelihood of coming up in the search. You may still come up in the search. If you do everything else right, you may. But if you're not in the center of town, you are less likely to come up. You might get a P.O. box. I've seen firms actually do this. They get a P.O. box. They call it a suite number. They'll get it as close to the center of the zip code as they possibly can, and that will help them come up in the search. You've got to register with Google, Yahoo, MSN, which they're calling Bing now, of course, and some others, and I'll show you some others. But you have to get registered with them. You're going to have to watch for a postcard. For instance, if you go to Google and register your business, they're going to send you a postcard. This is a huge problem for law firms. I don't understand why. The postcard comes in. It has a big, big Google sign on the back. It's very obvious, and the receptionist throws it out. You have to make sure whoever's receiving the mail is expecting this. Google will even show you a picture of what it looks like, and maybe you pin it up on her wall in front of her computer. So that was sexy, wasn't it? It might not be her, but whoever it is, they need to expect that postcard because there'll be a code on it that has to be entered in. And before we look at this local search thing, I want to remind you, keywords, keywords, keywords. Even when you're doing local search, registration, submissions, you need to remember your keywords. So, Denver personal injury. Actually, we will back here a moment ago. We were on here, and I clicked on one of these links. I think, was it Furthest Gray? Furthest Gray. And here is the local information. I call it Google Local. It's really Google Maps now. It used to be Google Local. They changed the name, but they incorporated it into Google Maps. So this is his information. This one has been actually taken over by the firm. There's a link up here. You can see right here. Edit this place. Now, if we click on that link, what's going to happen? Oops, my annotation tool is taken over. Let me just get rid of that. This comes up. Edit this place. This place has been claimed in the local business center. So that one's already been taken. He's already done this. Now, if you haven't done it on your site, this guy hasn't. Let's say Furthest Gray had not actually registered his business yet. The business would still be in here because they pull the data from Yellow Pages, from Super Pages, and so on. If he clicked on Edit This Place and he wasn't, he hadn't taken control of the listing, this is what he would see. He would see it on the map, and here it says Claim Your Business. You see this over here, Claim Your Business. By the way, this one says Place Closed. I don't know if that's true, but it's another reason to keep control of your local search submissions to make sure bad data doesn't end up in the directory. So if you click on Claim Your Business, you'll come to a sign-on page, and I'm not going to go into detail about this, but you can now go in and add all sorts of information about your business, and you should do that. You want to add photographs. You saw in the one we looked at, Furthest Gray, he had photographs in there. You can add videos these days to some of these local search systems. Text and lots of it. And when you put text in there, you want to explain what you do using good keywords. Personal injury, medical malpractice. Use the locations and the city names. If you're in Denver, say we serve Lakewood and Aurora and Thornton and whatever. Put as much in there as you possibly can. Details, 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 and all the details should have keywords. Reviews. If you have really happy clients, get them to do reviews for you. Have somebody in your office follow up and help them do it, and get them to actually place a review on there. Reviews are very, very, very powerful. Some of these local search systems, directories also allow you to upload coupons. I've seen attorneys putting in coupons for free consultations. The more stuff you put up here, the more interest the search engines will have in you. It will look like there's more going on, that you probably should be ranked high. Now, where do you register these things? These different places, Google, MSN, and Yahoo are the obvious places. There's also insider pages. Insider pages, their data goes to ask.com, which is like the sort of fourth largest search engine. It goes to City Search, local.myspace.com. There's Discover Our Town. Their data also goes to Yahoo. Why not get it into Yahoo twice? Local.com, ibegin.com, yelp.com, judysbook.com. Judy's Book, you've probably seen advertised. They do take information about attorneys too. Just click local.com, thinklocal.com, yellowbook.com, yellowpages.com. That data goes to yp.com. It goes to anywho.com. It goes to local.ingenio.com, or ingenio.com probably. Superpages.com. You may have noticed that one of the attorneys there, some of that data was coming out of Superpages when we looked at the earlier local search page. Some of that data was coming from Superpages. AreaConnect.com. So I would register with all these places. Another thing to consider is, by the way, and we're going to talk about links later on, if you get a link from Judy's book pointing to your website, Google will eventually find that link. It's a very good thing, a powerful thing. Google's going to find it and think your site is important because you have lots of links. Did I mention think keywords, including city names? Again, in these local pages, get your keywords in there, get your city names in there. Make sure there's a link pointing to your site with keywords in the link. Don't just say Furthest Gray in the link. Say Denver Personal Injury Attorney in the link. We'll discuss that more in a moment. Add content as much as you can. And by the way, did I mention think keywords? So localizing your site, we've discussed putting your site into the local directories. There's another side of this. You want to make sure that your site, your website itself, appears to be related to your location. You need to put all the cities you serve on every page on your website, not just the home page. Put them on every single page on the website. Ideally, you could have a page for each of the cities. Put locations in the URLs, in the web addresses. If you have purvisegray.com/personal-injury, you could have Denver-personal-injury. Get the locations into URLs. Put your address on every single page as well. Make sure you have location keyword links within the site. So if you're in Denver and you also serve Lakewood, which you probably do, then a link within your site that has the word Lakewood in it will help convince Google that you are working in Lakewood. Location keyword links pointing to the site. We'll look at links more in a moment. But getting links to point back to your site with location keywords is very powerful. So that's all about a local search and setting up your own site, localizing your own site. We're somewhere in the middle here. Matt, did you have some questions? Do we want to stop a moment or two for questions, or shall I?
I think that would be a good idea. For those who don't know where to submit their questions right now, there's a little toolbar on the lower right-hand corner of your screen. If you click the button that has a question mark on it, the blue button that has the question mark, we can get those. As I was watching the presentation, Peter, a question did arise in my mind that maybe will prompt some other people to have questions as well.
Okay.
The keyword analysis tool in Google is an excellent tool that can be used for free. How many keywords? I mean, you talk about keywords all the time. How many keywords do you think one site should have, or could have, and should plug into that keyword analyzer to see if they're optimizing their site or not?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a tough question. It depends what you do. If you have a single legal practice, a single area of practice, then you're going to be less interested in keywords than a firm that practices in 50 areas. So, I mean, I would say you sit down for a few hours and see what you find. As you go down that list of keywords, what you often find, let's see, do I still have it open? What you find is a lot of the words start repeating. But it's a good thing to get a good feel for what is important. So lawyer Denver, we know. Wrongful death lawyer, well, I guess you'd look for your city in this context. It takes a while. You're not going to do it in 10 minutes. You should have somebody spend a few hours doing it to get a feel for what is important. And I can't say how many keywords. If you do personal injury, then you're probably looking for other words related to personal injury. I'm not quite sure what. I don't know if med mal comes under personal injury or wrongful death, for instance, would be a phrase I'm sure that you'd want to include. Plus, again, all the locations, the major locations you operate in, and the state names. So Lakewood, Colorado, you'd want Colorado CO and Colorado spelled out. Right. So I'm not sure if that helps. There's no, it's one of those how long is a piece of string things. Right.
I just was, I wanted to kind of just think down that path. But Woody has a question for us. The keywords you showed seem to be in phrases. Is the order of the words important, and do they have to be in phrases?
The order of the words is important. So, well, the first thing is, yes, the phrases are important because that's how people search. And you can see here, Denver personal injury, we've got a 3-word, 4-word, typically this is 2, 4, this is even a 5-word search string here. That's how people search. And Google always tries to match, well, and the other search engines try to match more or less exactly. If you search for Denver personal injury, and if somebody searches for Denver personal injury and your site has that phrase, that exact phrase, it's given more weight than a site that has the words, excuse me, has the words but scattered around. You see what I'm saying? The actual phrase, the closer the match to the phrase, the more weight your site will be given in the rankings. It's only one part of the, Google and all the search engines use very, very complicated algorithms. So there's a lot involved, but they assign a certain weight to a page depending on each characteristic, and the ones that get the best rating overall rank at the top. So phrases are important, and matching the phrase closely is a good thing.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Al has a question. Do you have to add the keywords to every page on your website?
Yeah. Excuse me, I mean, a little sip of water here. That's a good question. I'm going to cover this in a few moments when we talk about what we do paragraph. It is a good idea to have the primary terms on every single phrase in your website, the primary locations in every single phrase on the website. But I'm going to cover that again, so I'll move on from that one. We'll get to that in a few minutes.
Okay, I do not see any other questions or mostly questions at this point. So why don't we move on to the second part of the presentation, Peter? And if attendees have questions that they didn't get answered or they thought of as we started the second part of the presentation, use the chat or the Q&A feature and the toolbar on the lower right of your screen, and we'll get to it in the second Q&A session. Thank you.
All right, very good. So I will move on. So we've looked at local search. That's an incredibly powerful way to start ranking the search engine. I really recommend that you all do that you spend some time. I have somebody in the office spending some time doing that whole local search thing. We're going to look now at optimizing your own site, making the site friendly to search engines, making it, giving it a chance of ranking higher than other search engines. And it's all about, Google looks at things on your site and says, well, the keyword must be important on this site because of this factor, because of that factor. We're going to look at text. Text and not image text. I'll explain that in a moment. We'll look at URLs, actual web addresses, the whole frame issue. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. Titles and meta tags, you've probably heard a lot about. H1 headings, the whole concept of keyworded content, keyworded text links, an XML sitemap, or what we do paragraph, and calls to action, and as always, keywords. So let's start with text, not image text. Search engines index text, and if they can't read it, they can't index it. So if you don't have, if your site is created with images, then the search engine is not going to read it. This is an example. This text up here, where we see immigration law blog for employers, this text is actually in an image. Those are great keywords. Immigration law employers, fantastic keywords. Down here, Holland and Hart's immigration law practice, great keywords. The search engines are not reading them. Now, it doesn't matter too much, perhaps. I don't know if this might be an image as well down here. I'm not quite sure. But if your site is predominantly image, and some web designers do this because it's a really quick and easy way to create web pages when you don't understand the web very well, you can create the entire site as an image. All the text is image, and it won't help you because the search engines are not going to read it. Flash, by the way, these animations you see, that's another problem. Flash is indexed, and Flash designers go to great lengths to explain that, yes, Flash is indexed by the search engines. It's true. It is indexed. However, it never ranks. You never see a predominantly Flash-based page rank at the top of the search engines. I won't go into detail, but Flash doesn't always do it. URLs. Let's look at these web addresses. That is a good web address. It's nice and clean and readable, and it has these keywords: Denver, scooter, accident, lawyer. That's great keywords. This is a bad one. Where are the keywords? There are no keywords in here. This is what's called a session ID. I guess we don't need to get into that, but there's no keywords in here. This is also bad. It's the same as this first one, but they're using underscores instead of hyphens. A lot of web designers will insist you should use underscores. They can't explain why. I can explain why why you shouldn't. If I do a search with Denver_Scooter_accident_lawyer, what do I find? I find no pages that match. It's given me 2 pages. Google's saying, did you mean? And it gives me 2 pages that it thinks that actually match this first phrase here, Denver_Scooter_accident_lawyer. But it hasn't given me any direct matches. On the other hand, if I search, I'm trying to find the link here, here it is. If I search for Denver Scooter Accident Lawyer with hyphens, it will find, well, it finds 1.1 million pages. So Google looks at the hyphen as a space. It looks at the underscore as another character in the word, and there's no direct match. So don't use underscores. Nice good keywords this is a very powerful thing, by the way, to have the keywords in the URL. There's not much space in the URL, so if Google sees keywords in the URL, it has to assume they're important. Don't use frames. I won't go into a lot of detail here. I'll give you a quick example. This could be what's called an iframe. Actually, they did it slightly differently on here. Iframes are a lousy idea. If there are any web designers here, I won't go into detail why. It creates orphan pages that are not indexed properly, and you don't have to do it. In fact, this site over here actually uses CSS. You can do it. You can look just the same. You use CSS and it's indexable. If you use iframes, it's not. But it's a little geeky thing there. We won't go into too much detail. Titles and meta tags. The title tag. Let's have a quick. I did a quick search here for a law firm in Denver. I asked Google to tell me how many pages they had. They have 1,720. And this text here is the title tag. If I go into the source, well, we'll go and look at that page. We should close some of these things while we're waiting. And we'll look at the source. Oops, that's a bad page. Let's go into Celebrex. I believe that one's there. So we go into the source code, and you will see this title: Denver Celebrex Litigation Attorneys and Lawyers. I think that's a pretty good title. It's got really good keywords in there. They didn't put their company name at the front, but it's the keywords that count. You want the keywords at the front anyway. A lot of firms will put their name up there. They could have put the name at the end. I think they do on some pages, probably. Yeah, they do on some, like this. That title tag appears on the search results page when people find your site. You want it first letter uppercase because it makes it easier to read. You want nice, good keywords. If you can think of some pitch to get them to actually click on the link, that's a good thing. This text here is usually the description tag. I'll show you the description tag. This here is the description tag. I don't like this description tag so much. I think description tags should be first letter uppercase because it makes it much easier to read as you scan down. I think they should eliminate all words that don't say anything. This is a sales pitch. This text is what is encouraging people to click on your link. So make description tags first letter uppercase because as you scan down the page, it's easy to read. Get rid of all the unnecessary words like have a record of. They could just say hyphen outstanding legal success as an example. I like to put phone numbers in here as well in the description tag because, again, as somebody scans down the page, it catches the eye. And secondly, it also says this is an actual attorney law site. It's not some kind of garbage directory. There's someone here. People are not going to call based on that, but they're more likely to click on the link. So I personally like putting phone numbers in there as well. Let me get rid of some of this. Actually, I'll come back here. That's the title tag. We discussed the description meta tag. You've probably also heard about the keywords meta tag. The keywords meta tag is not important. I will show it to you here. Here it is. If a web designer or an SEO firm seems to be focusing on keyword meta tags, if they keep talking about, oh yeah, we'll do your keyword meta tags for you, you know they don't know what they're doing. Or it's a scam, one of the two, or both. They don't matter anymore. They've been so misused over the years that the search engines pretty much ignore them, or give them very little weight, if any. H1 headings. H1 headings tell the search engines the keywords that are important. So, as an example here, you can see this here, Celebrex Attorneys. This is what's called an H1. I can show you in here. That's what it looks like in the code. A lot of web designers now don't use H tags. These are heading tags. They don't use them, a lot of them, because they just use other formatting techniques. We won't go into it. But if you make that an H tag, now Google knows that this piece of text is a heading, and if it contains the word Celebrex attorneys, then that's probably what the page is about. So use H tags. Lots of keyworded content. You want to scatter keywords throughout the content. If you're after Celebrex cases, make sure the page has the word Celebrex scattered through it, perhaps 14, 15, 20 times. You'll hear SEO people talk about keyword density. I don't care about keyword density. I don't think about keyword density. There are tools out there that you can point at your web page and it'll say, oh, this keyword is 10% of the page or 7% of the page. And you can find SEO people who will tell you should never go above 7.5%. They don't know that. It's just a number they've heard somewhere. It's complete nonsense. My rule is, if it sounds clumsy, then you've probably gone too far. You don't need to worry about these keyword density tools. If it sounds bad, then maybe you've done it a bit too much. And don't let the content hide the calls to action. Big mistake in the SEO business. Lots and lots and lots and lots of content, and they forget about the calls to action, which we will discuss in a moment. So, keyworded text links. Links tell search engines what the reference page is all about. So you need to put keywords in your site, throughout the site, and pointing to the site, which we'll come to later. But you want to use plenty of links throughout the site. You want links inside the content. You want links on the sidebars. You want links on the bottom of the page, and they should have keywords in them. Instead of, for instance, a link saying about our services, it would be much better if it said about our personal injury law firm services or something like that with the keywords on the primary terms. Avoid click here links. Click here for information on our personal injury services. It tells Google that the reference page is about click here, which doesn't do you any good. It's much better if you have keywords on there. And we'll come back to links and what makes a good link and so on in a few moments. XML sitemaps. I'll show you what a sitemap looks like. Somewhere I've got, here we go. This is an XML sitemap. Users never see it, obviously. It's intended to tell the search engines what is on your site. And, whoops, I better not close that. It's a good idea to do it. You register with these three places, Google, Yahoo, and MSN. And once you're registered, often you'll get information about your website. But it's a good idea to submit one of those, especially for large sites. For small sites, it's not quite as important. But for very large sites, you really must have an XML sitemap. What we do paragraph. Now, the question earlier on was, should I have the keywords on every single page? I think you do. I think what you do is you figure out what the top 50 or so keywords are. You make your little list. You spend a few hours going through that. You make a list of the locations you're interested in. And then you weave those terms into 1 to 2 paragraphs. And by the way, you'll almost never hear any other SEO person talk about this. I'm gonna patent it or something, but I've never heard anybody else talk about this. But it's a really good thing to do. You take that paragraph or those paragraphs and put them onto every page in the site. If you have a site that's broken down into different areas, one area is related to maritime law, one area is related to med-mal and so on. You might have different paragraphs for those different areas, focusing on the specific keywords for those particular areas. I'll show you a quick example. This is actually not a legal site. This is a real estate site that does very well. You can see this is optimized for Aurora Real Estate. Well, if I look down, there's a paragraph down here. And I will let's zoom in on it so you can see it. This is essentially a keyword paragraph, and you can see they've put all sorts of real estate-related keywords. They don't know if somebody might say buying a house in Aurora, Colorado. Well, if they don't have this paragraph in here, if the word buying isn't in here, this page can't come up. They've even got spelling mistakes you can see here. Whether you say realtor, 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 so they've got all the common spelling mistakes. If you have common spelling mistakes for some of your legal practices, you might consider that. They've got it in Spanish here, a few common real estate terms in Spanish. So this is used to be on every page of their site, but they've tweaked things recently. like the idea of getting the what we do paragraph onto every single page of the site. Calls to action. People forget this. If you want people to call you, make the phone number prominent. Prominent lead forms. My concept is, if you want them to see it, make it easy to see. And I often get people coming to me for my little consulting sessions, and they say, well, I want them to fill in this, or I want them to do that. And I say, well, where is it? And they'll say, down on the left-hand side. It's right under such and such entry in the menu. Well, why do I go looking for that? Why would I do that? I think this site is terrible. I don't see a phone number. I can go looking for it. Okay, here it is. But there's no lead submission form. Of course, it isn't a very attractive site anyway. On the other hand, if we look at this, we've got the phone number up here right at the top. It's fantastic, quite clear. We've got a case evaluation form. Fill it in, click on the submit button. They've made it obvious how you can contact them quickly and easily. So you need calls to action, and you need to make them prominent. Now let's talk about links. Google in 1996 was actually called Backrub. That was the original name of Google, and by the way, that is the original Google logo. If you don't believe me, by the way, you can go to Google and look at their history, and you can see 1996 began collaborating on Backrub. Why Backrub? Backrub, the word back relates to back link, meaning a link pointing back to your website. The whole concept of Google was they were going to look at those links pointing to your website to figure out what your site was about. So links are incredibly important. It doesn't matter how well optimized your site is, you're not ranking without links, and you won't rank well without the right links. Links indicate popularity. Google has something called PageRank. Yahoo has something called WebRank. The more links you have, and the more links from sites that are themselves popular, then the more popular your site must be. Links help you get indexed. If Google is tripping over a link to your site every day, it's going to start thinking you're important. It's going to start finding your site again. It's going to start indexing it more often. Plus, and this is very important, keywords in the links describe the subject of the referenced page. Google looks at these links, it reads the words in the links, and says, oh, that reference page must be about whatever it happens to be. And I'll give you some examples of that in a minute. Oh, I may have, I think, well, actually, I'm going to come back to this page because I put it out of sequence. Let's have a quick look at the anatomy of a link. We've got keywords in the links. You must have valid links, not only keywords in the links. I'll show you some examples of bad links. Here's a bad link. For information about our personal injury services, click here. Again, you're telling Google that click here is about, the reference page, rather, is about click here. Visit the Rudnitsky and Hackman LLP PA website. Again, it's not really telling Google what the reference page is about. Yes, it is about that law firm, but you're trying to convince Google it's about personal injury or med-mal or whatever it happens to be. That's the link. You can have a link on an image, but in this case, you're not giving any information to Google whatsoever because there are no keywords. So let's see some good examples. Find a Denver personal injury attorney. Google's going to see the link, and now it knows that the reference site is about Denver personal injury attorney. So if somebody searches Denver personal injury attorney, you've got a little bit more weight in the ranks. Here's one. I took that earlier one and converted it. Visit our site for information on our bankruptcy, real estate, and business legal services. Now we've got keywords in there, and Google sees those keywords. Oh, this site is about real estate legal services, about bankruptcy, and so on. Even if you do images, you can sometimes do that. You don't always get a choice when you're getting links pointing to your site, but you can sometimes do that. Put a little link underneath the image. So those are good links. Let's quickly look at the link code itself. This is, again, geeky stuff. I know a lot of you on the call probably don't want to get into this. Somebody needs to understand this. The person creating the link certainly does. This is a very simple link. You've got Denver personal injury attorney are the keywords, and this is where it points. Here's some bad link code. First thing is, this little piece here says no follow. It's telling the search engines not to follow the link. So if you get a link from a website pointing to yours, and that little tag is on there, doesn't do you any good anyway because the search engines will ignore it. Here's another one. This is really an advertising link. Sometimes links pointing to your site, depending on how you're getting them, are created with a redirect. In effect, it bounces over the view, in this case, over to DoubleClick's server, and then bounces you across to your website. It doesn't do you any good. The link is seen to the main server, the ad server. Really, this is an ad server. So those are bad links. They don't do you any good. Now let me come back to where we were. So I want to talk about. Sorry about this. I got my this slide in the wrong place. Where do you get these links? This is one of the hardest things in SEO. You can do anything to your website, but how do you get all these links pointing to your site? One way is to purchase directory placements. You can get directory placements in business.com and yahoo.com and in various legal directories. Free directory placements, there are firms in India that will register your site with literally thousands of free directories. They're cheap garbage links. They're not good links, but they're so cheap, it's almost like, well, you might as well. If a page, by the way, that points to your website is not indexed, then of course it doesn't count. So, the free directory placements are falling out of favor. I think they still do work to a small degree. Again, you really want the keywords. You want to make the most of it. Local directories, to some degree, we discussed that already. Friends and family. This is like, think, who can I get a link from? And partners. Are there any partners who will link to me? Press releases, if they're done right, and I will tell you now that your PR firm does not know how to do a press release effectively to garner attention from the search engines. You have to have the press release itself has to have keyworded links in there, and most PR firms will link to your site with a URL and totally lose the benefit of those keyworded links. Link bait. This is a concept in SEO. The whole idea is that you create something on your website that is so useful that other people will link to it. That's the best sort of link, by the way. You have something so cool and useful that people around the blogosphere or other websites or whatever will link to you. You can buy links as well. There are lots of people out there selling links. Google does not like it. If they find a page that is selling links, they will quite likely drop that page. Shouldn't do you any harm, though, because if you could kill a website by buying links pointing to it, then we could all kill our competition's websites. But there are plenty of people out there that will sell links. But not all links are links, and, well, we discussed that whole business about no follow and so on. So I need to adjust that, obviously. Bad link code. Work your leads. Having worked with attorneys, I've got to say, one of the biggest problems is they're not working their leads. A lead comes in, and you have to call it within minutes. If somebody sends you a lead, chances are they've been on the web and they sent somebody else a lead. I'm talking about these lead submission forms. Of course, phone call obviously is different, but although if it goes to the message machine, you call right back. You should be calling within 3 to 5 minutes. Attorneys that are doing really well online, they get those leads and they return the calls almost immediately. They walk around with their Blackberries. The lead comes in and bang, they make the call. You have to do that, or you're just losing the benefit. Getting near the end here. This is our last slide. I just want to cover a few myths. If you go to SEO firms, they're going to tell you all sorts of things. One thing they're going to tell you is, oh, you must have a blog. And blogs can be very useful, but they are not the silver bullet everybody's trying to make out. Plus, most SEO firms will not do them right. You really want the blog on your own site, not somebody else's site. You don't just go to blogspot.com and set up a blog over there. You install WordPress on your own site, which can be done very quickly and easily, by the way. But it's partly a scam from these SEO firms because they'll say you must have a blog because it moves the onus to you. You then have to have somebody blogging. And in my experience, most law firms are not going to do that. They have more important things to be doing than writing blog entries every day. Some attorneys do and do very well, but it's not the silver bullet that it's been made out to be. You must have a Facebook page. Well, why? yes, Facebook marketing can be very effective, but just plonking a Facebook page, well, you do get a bit of a benefit because you can link from the Facebook page to your website. But again, this is something that the SEO firms say, oh, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, and a lot of it's nonsense. You need fresh content is a bit of a myth. I've seen sites rank for years with very little change in their content. Fresh content is a good thing because it does keep getting, well, it gets more keywords onto your site all the time, more possible matches for searches. But the idea that you have to, that you won't rank high if you don't have fresh content is simply not true, and it's demonstrably so. And finally, duplicate content will get your site penalized. That's another old myth. I guess we don't need to go into it. You don't want duplicate content if you can avoid it. In other words, content that's exactly the same from another site. It's not going to get your site penalized, though. And you can always tweak content to make it a little bit different. But there we go. That's what I've got for now. I think we're running late, but I can answer some questions.
Okay, Peter, thank you. That was great. We do have a couple questions for you. I think we have 3 or 4 that have come through during the second half of your presentation. Carol asked, I know many people misspell words or use typos in searching, but would it not be a good idea to add in keywords spelled correctly and incorrectly, especially words that are commonly misspelled?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Is she asking if it's a good idea to have misspelled words?
That's right. She says, I'll read it again, I'm sorry. I know many people misspell words or use typos when they search. So would it be a good idea to add in keywords spelled both correctly and incorrectly for keywords that are commonly misspelled?
Yeah, absolutely. As we saw, and maybe she sent that in before we got to the...
I believe she did, yeah.
Yeah. So HomeGain over there, that real estate site, realtor is a very commonly misspelled word. So why not get the common misspellings on the page? So I'm not sure in the law, in the legal arena, which words are commonly misspelled. Some areas, I mean, the word calendar is, I did a job for a software company that had calendar software. The word calendar is misspelled an enormous amount of time. So you want to get both spellings in the pages. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we have another question. What did you mean that the entire site could consist of text and images, even if the text isn't in an actual photo? If a template is being used, is it more likely that the text would be in images?
No, I can't say that because some templates are created well and some are not. Well, I shouldn't say well. That's a judgment there. Some templates can be created in many different ways. But what I'm saying about image sites, I've seen sites. I did some work, for instance, with Colorado Ballet years ago, and some firm had created a website for them that was total images. There was no text in that website whatsoever, and everything was they created in Photoshop, and then you spat it out as images, and then created links between the images. And so there was no text. There was nothing at all to index. More commonly, what you see today is where a lot of the headings are created as images because they look nice. You know, they can be formatted in a way to make them look really nice, and it's just easier for the designer to do it, to lay it out, and so on. So, and one of the sad things is that having keywords in the headings is really powerful. So you're losing the benefit of all those great headings, which should be H1 tags or H2 tags. So there are different ways to build sites, and you just want to make sure you don't lose the benefit of all those good keywords.
Okay, we have another question from Al, who asks, the links that you were referring to, and I believe these are the links that were used during the bad link, good link comparison.
Yeah.
Are those inside your own website? Are those contained with? I think he's asking, are those contained within a website, or did you kind of make those up on the fly to show an example?
Well, I actually, of course, I showed 2 slides there. I showed one slide with the, let me go to it, where bad links, why links, bad links. So this could be, first the concept is the same regardless, whether it's on your site or somebody else's site. So this, for instance, might be on your site. For information about our personal injury services, click here. That could be something on your site. I mean, I just made this up, but it's a common thing. It doesn't help you because click here. You're telling Google it's about click here, and so this would be a better way to do it. Well, I didn't have a direct match there, but you could say, well, here you should have personal injury services as the link. Personal injury as the link here. These other links that we looked at, the link code. I mean, I grabbed these. I made, obviously I made that one up. This one I actually did grab off somebody's website, and I think I probably, no, I don't know. I made a lot of those up, but
right. Yeah, I think he was just trying to figure out, how he should position his links. Al had a follow-up question. Is there any drawback to registering your website in terms of spammers to your email address? And how long realistically does it take after registration to see the site appeared as a registered site?
What do they mean by registered site? What are they referring to?
I think they were talking about back when you were talking about registering the sites with Google, Yahoo, and Microsoft or Bing.
With the local
for the local search?
I mean, is there a disadvantage? No, I can't think of any disadvantage. I mean, if you want to be in front of people, you need people to come to your site and do business with you. So spam, unfortunately, we all have to live with. I don't understand why these people can't be tracked down and shot, but unfortunately we have to deal with these people. But no, I think the advantages greatly outweigh the disadvantages. And
what would you say the turnaround time is from when you register to when you get the postcard, say, from Google and you enter the code? How long is that total process?
Well, it can vary, but I think it could be several weeks before the postcard pops up. I just recently did something similar, not one of these registrations, but an AdWords-related thing, AdSense-related thing with Google, and it took them 3 to 4 weeks to get the postcard to me. So you've got to keep watching for it. When you do this, I believe Google, certainly over on AdSense they'll show you a picture of what the postcard looks like, because clearly it's getting thrown out a lot. And you can print that out and put it on the wall, and hopefully when it comes in it'll be caught.
Excellent. And we have one final question to wrap this great session up. Ty asks, so Peter, how do we find a credible SEO company?
Well, obviously I'm biased and I do SEO, although it's a huge problem. It really is a huge problem. Even if you work with me, I wouldn't do most of this work myself. I do pure consulting. I can help people find people to do it. The best way is to have people on staff. So if you have web designers, the best thing to do is get somebody to teach them what to do. Because SEO doesn't have to be expensive once you understand it. The link building is a bit of a hassle, but the actual page optimization should be free. Beyond the knowledge, there is no expense. And so if everybody involved in building the website understands it, it's a free thing. So, I do some consulting in that area. How do you find, and I'm not trying to sound self-serving here, but it is such a scam, this business. It really is 80%, at least 80% scam, if not 90%. I mentioned one firm earlier on, Page One Solutions. I think they do a pretty decent job. Otherwise, they're in the legal arena. They do law sites. Otherwise, you've got to find a firm with really good references and check those references. If you base it purely on their marketing blurb, you're probably going to get ripped off. Statistically speaking, you are likely to get ripped off. So you really have to follow up the leads, talk to another firm that's worked with them, and ask questions like, where were you ranked before you started working with these guys, and did they get you to the top of the search engine, and how long did it take, and are they easy to work with, and do they do what they say they do? I'm hearing all the time from firms saying, well, they said they'd do this, but they're really not. There's an agency that works in the insurance field, And I spoke to one of the insurance agents recently, and he said, yeah, well, they were going to do pay-per-click for the first 4 weeks to get some traffic moving, but I don't think they ever actually did it. And it's a terrible business. It really is. It's such a scam. So you just got to be careful.
Okay, thank you, Peter. I'm going to take over the screen and just wrap things up here real fast. I wanted to thank Peter again for his presentation. I think it was an excellent presentation with a lot of good, useful information that hopefully you can take back to your law firm. If you'd like to speak to Peter, his contact information was on the screen just a minute ago. You can also give us a call here at CASA. Our number is on the screen. That's 800-523-2319. We'd be more than happy to get you in touch with Peter. There have been some questions during the presentation about sending out the slides that were used during today's presentation. I believe I'm going to have to check with Peter, but we'll do our best to send those out to you in a timely fashion. This webinar was recorded, and we will be sending out a link to the archived recording later on today. Please feel free to share that with others in your firm and other lawyers in your area. I think they'll find it very useful as well. We will have another client-focused webinar take place on November 18th, 2009. Please look for an invitation in your inbox during the first or second week of November. And finally, if you have any follow-up questions or comments, please feel free to email me, Matt Hyde, at mhyde@tastanet.com. Again, we thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you at future client-focused webinars presented by the TASTA Group Incorporated. Thank you, Peter, again for your time. It was a great presentation.
Thank you very much, Matt. I appreciate it.